It's always good to research what's being discussed and talked about on the Facebook groups and the forums, which is why today we're talking about expanding, franchising or selling. And I can stop filling now because our final panelist is here. But really the value of this conference, as I see it, is you guys, the people in the room. And I think that's why it's important to have a gym owners panel to open the conference and to talk about gym owner stuff and to question the 3 panelists that we're going to get up in a minute, but also to get you all thinking and get you all conversing and talking and interacting and networking. Because I don't want you to have a good day today and then go, oh, I need to find that person on LinkedIn or Facebook tomorrow. I want you to get the value from the room today, which is why we start with this, as I say, to get you all thinking and conversing and discussing over lunch, over a beer later, obviously. The brands that are out there, as Rob says, this conference wouldn't happen without them. So do go out and look at the stands, but make sure that you connect with each other, make some new friends, find some new business or new ways of doing things, or even ways of not doing things, learn from each other's mistakes, all that kind of stuff. So that's why I think this conference is good. It's the community and it's the education. And yeah, hopefully this will help you to listen to your peers, make you think a little bit, and get you talking to each other throughout the day. So that's my preamble, and the people are up here, and Nathan is here now. So I'm going to go and have a sit down and ask them to come up and join me. We'll do some intros. So, look, I've moved seamlessly over to the other mic. So what we do in this session, what we've done for the last few sessions is we just kind of go through a little bit of background about the 3 gym owners we've got here. And then I've got another couple. I could keep asking questions all day, as those of you who listen to a podcast will know, but we really want to get questions from you guys, okay? So start thinking of some questions. There will be a roving mic going around. Let me introduce the people up here. Nathan, who has done very well to get here, considering the accidents on the roads, right?
Yeah, a 4-hour journey in the end, yeah.
So, well, listen, round of applause to him for getting here.
Hope I didn't delay it too much for you.
No, we're fine, we're fine. Rob filled admirably. So just a little bit about each club, an intro to each owner. So Nathan, NR Fitness in Norfolk, 6 sites now.
Yep.
And let me move on to some pictures of the club. Always nice to actually see what the club looks like and to put some numbers up as well so that you can go, oh, right, okay, yeah, that's a bit like me, or it's a bit bigger or a bit smaller than, so you can kind of compare yourself against NR Fitness and kind of see where you fit. So 24/7 access, 6 clubs kind of all across Norfolk, memberships around the 24 to 35, and obviously with a range of sites. There's one that's up to 2,000 and the smaller, newer ones around 900?
Yeah, so depending on the location, really. The bigger the towns, we're finding the bigger the numbers. So that's been quite good for us to recognise that early on. But yeah, ranging, well, that was around, 900 to nearly 2,000 now, yeah.
Okay. So we've got this theme of grow, franchise, or sell. So clearly, well, not clearly, but this is grow. Nathan's grow. And I'm interested to know, I've got a similar question for you all, but in terms of the why, what does growing, and what's the why for you personally in terms of, building up those 6 sites? And it's been a site a year over the last 6 years, basically, right?
Yeah, 6 years, 6 sites. It's been an incredible journey. So I did start in the industry from 16 years old through apprenticeship schemes, and then started managing health clubs and leisure centres on behalf of operators. And my why really was that I felt restricted in the decisions I could make and the time it took to get decisions. And my ultimate goal was to have my own club, and eventually managed to get that. And then it just snowballed from there. Opportunity came, and we took big risks at this early stages. And here we are today with 6 clubs, yeah.
Cool. Was it always, when you opened that first one, was it always going to be multi-site, or was it one and then that developed?
It wasn't at the start, no. Until I saw a local competitor kind of copying what I was doing with my marketing and stuff like that, I thought, okay, what are they up to? And then next minute, they shut their doors, and that was an opportunity for us to open our second site to kind of, one, protect our business, because we had quite a few members that we'd slowly, inherited from their management and their club. So we decided to take the risk and take it on, and it's one of our most successful clubs today, that second site.
Cool. So, and the third one, where did that come from? What was the progression?
So, on my second site, I then brought in one of my best friends, Aaron. He's now my director as well. We'd worked in the industry together, managing health clubs, so his background was very strong and very similar to my background and our values. And we actually then went and pitched. It was the council were doing a Dragon's Den kind of hearing. So you could approach the council for up to £20,000 to open a new business in the area. So me and Aaron put a presentation together and went and pitched. For my actual first site I actually wanted was in my town where I live, which is Dereham. That was always my dream, to open a gym there. But it was my third site, and that was the site where we got the grant from the council. We won the Dragon's Den contest, and £20,000 towards opening up the club, and that's how we moved into our third site. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Well, let's. There will be more questions coming in, but let's move on to Sharon. And Anytime, amongst other things, franchisee in swaddling coat. So there might be a couple of stock images here, but this is pretty much what the club looks like.
Yes,
yeah.
yes, yeah. I mean, that's the thing with Anytime Fitness. Most clubs will look very similar because we stick to a particular brand.
But there's some stats here for you. And this was I don't want to say, it was a club that was in trouble, that you identified, and went in and took it over with 70 members?
Approximately 70.
Let's say less than 100.
Yeah,
It
was less than 100.
It's now, well, when we chatted a couple of weeks ago, it was close to 1,000. It probably is even closer now, is it?
Yes, not far off now. That's our magic number before the end of the year.
Yeah, okay. So in terms of, sorry, not quite as good a URL to remember, and I didn't put a QR code on, sorry, but if you, Anytime Fitness Swaddling Coat, you can go and see the website. Yeah. But in terms of the why for you, was it always going to be, so A, did you always want to own a gym, and B, was it always going to be franchise?
I'll answer the second question first. Franchising, yes, I think it was always going to be franchising for me because I came from a franchising background. And then for me, it was sort of the easiest way to establish a business which was already established. It's sort of a box shelf ready business ready to go. I started a food brand prior to that earlier, and then realized the pains of starting a food brand from scratch in terms of brand, and thought, okay, to make some money, I think I'll go back into franchising. So that was my why. Health and fitness, I have been a user of the industry since the age of 18, so many years now, and saw that there was such growth in the market over the last 10, 12 years, and hence that's the why, the growth, and catch the market at the right time.
Okay. And in terms of how much of that growth from under 100 to almost 1,000, how much of that is Anytime? How much of that is you? How much of that is your staff? What's the story there?
Anytime, I think, for us helps in terms of it carries the brand, and it's also the fact that there is 5,000 gyms worldwide, and that really helps us as just a single site to say, you can go and use any of the gyms, and it's a great USP. I'd say 25% of it is Anytime brand, i.e. getting it to the stage where you open the doors. 75% would be me and the team. And, I was just speaking to Adam, the team is so important. The mix of people is so important. Yeah.
I think we may come back onto that.
Yeah.
I'm always interested in the franchise model. A lot of franchise clubs that I know, there's the brand and there's the backup and the support that you've got from that, but most of the members know you as the owner, and some of them won't even know that there are other anytimes. Is that the same for your club?
Yes, that's definitely the case. I mean, you know, the great thing is that it's your business, and so you, as the individual or the business owner, take as much care as you would like in terms of getting to know the members, building that community, building that engagement with the members. So yes, yeah, it is. It's they know me as opposed to really knowing Anytime.
Yeah, which I'm sure there's a few people in the audience who are like, oh, hold on, Anytime. This is an independent conference, but they're Anytime. And we've had that debate lots of times here, but the members do see, or in my experience, the members do see an Anytime as an independent club. So yeah, we can debate that. If you don't want a coffee break, we can get into that later. But yeah, we'll see. Let's move on to Adam. And a big thanks to Adam for coming, because actually going, let's find someone who's sold a club, who wants to come to the Independence Conference and wants to talk about it, right? But Adam is a good friend, host of the Business of PT podcast. And we thought we'd get lots of Vivo shoes on the stage just for a chat, because he's a Vivo ambassador and a coach and a facilitator and a leadership, lots of stuff. But back in the day, owned a gym. This is pre-pandemic, isn't it? So Life Lab in Chislehurst. I dug up some photos of Adam in Life Lab from a couple of years ago.
Yeah, they're probably about.
I think it is, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, they're probably about 6 years old.
Yeah, you can tell by the resolution.
Yeah.
That's how you know how old photos are. But pretty high end, as you can see from the prices, and it was an early boutique, really, wasn't it? Pre-boutique boutique.
Yeah, I would say it was probably one of the very early boutique gyms that was out there charging those sorts of prices as well, within the UK for sure.
Yeah, so we're not talking 2,000 members.
No.
But getting straight into that, you can see the numbers and the kind of the details here. But in terms of the why, let's not go straight to the why did you sell. Why did you? Because I know it's part of the story of there was a why you opened it as well, right?
So my why was multifaceted, probably three key reasons. The first one was, having been in the industry many years, I've been very fortunate to have quite a distinguished personal training career in London. I've led education teams and created education for some of the world's largest brands. And I also come from a world of elite sport as well. So 3 different environments. My ambition was to put it all into one roof. All the things that I'd learned, all the mistakes that I'd made working with all sorts of different people around the world, my vision was to put it into one roof and create this amazing training space. So that was the first reason. The second reason was to actually create an awesome training space for great personal trainers to become awesome personal trainers. That was also a vision of mine. It wasn't just about bringing in average trainers, letting them do their thing. I wanted to see trainers grow and evolve and create an amazing team. And the final thing was, at the time, and it's changed, it has changed. However, at the time, I felt the industry was very serious about the way we trained. Everything was about data, was about numbers, was about meeting certain metrics when you're working with clients. And for me, I wanted to bring a bit of fun back into training. And also, the goal was to bring a bit of fun into business as well. So those were the 3 main reasons why I wanted to open a gym. And also, a little bit of a personal challenge.
Yeah, because it was at the same time as you were doing your MBA, right? So that's part of the...
Yeah, I started an MBA in the September, and I started building my gym in the October. And the goal was to put everything that I learnt on my MBA into practice when I opened my gym. That was the ambition. And there was lots of things, interestingly, on the MBA that I learnt that didn't work. So traditional business doesn't always work when you're trying to open up an independent boutique business.
So then the why of selling it, because this is, as I say, we don't just make these sessions up. It is Rob and I talk about what the discussions are going on the Facebook groups and things like that. And there is a lot of discussion about selling or buying other things, which is why we're chatting about it today. But what was the why for selling or for moving out of it for you? I'd never had an ambition to actually own a gym long term. It was never a thing that I wanted to do. I did explore and spent a year in my late 20s, early 30s trying to get a change of planning for a building, which didn't work out. And back then I did want to open a gym. However, as I got into my 40s, or just before my 40s,
opening a gym wasn't something that I thought this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. However, it was something that I wanted to do so I could learn the process of A, building a gym, B, marketing a brand new gym, and then running the business, and what I can learn from that. So it's what I could learn personally, what I could learn and how I could grow, yet it was also to understand what it is like, truly like, to build a business from scratch and then hopefully sell it. That was the goal. So I could then help others do it. Now, without being too big picture and idealistic, there's a lot of people out there, gyms, small businesses that don't do it particularly well. And I'm not saying I did it perfectly, far from it. Yet my hope was that I could learn how to do it pretty well and then go out there and help others do it really, really well.
Yeah. So you wanted to go on the full journey, as I see it, a bit like a member. If we have mystery shoppers going in, we'll sometimes get them to join, do a class, have an induction or whatever you call it, hopefully not induction, and then we'll get them to leave for that whole experience. So it's a bit like that. You wanted to go on that whole journey.
Yeah, totally. It was one going from start to finish, understanding the whole process from literally building from scratch, because it was pretty much a renovation from an old sports club into a boutique gym, and then ultimately, selling it and seeing what I could learn along the way and how I can help others in the future was pretty much the goal. And just having some fun.
And so before we get into like more open questions, because there's stuff Adam can't discuss, NDAs and whatever. So we don't want to know the number, obviously, because that would be that you can't discuss. But how I'm interested to know how you got to a number, from what you are able to share.
No, of course. Well, I don't know if anyone's ever looked at selling a gym or even buying a gym. So therefore, there are probably 7 or 8 traditional models that you use to sell or value your gym. So we decided on using what was called cash flow discount model to sell. And that, in essence, is 3 numbers. It's your initial investment. It's your predicted cash flow for multiple years, and you agree the number of years you want to sell it for, so you want to pitch that for, and then you decide on what the discount is per year. So it's the 3 key numbers you look for, and then you put it into a computer basically, and it pops out a magic number that you go, does this sound good? And the other person says, no, it doesn't, it's too expensive, and you go, okay, let's figure this out.
Higher, lower.
Yeah, so it started the negotiations. So that's how we got to an initial number. And then the negotiation started from there, because there was other things that it doesn't put into practice, like goodwill, my name, and within the area, and within the industry, I do have a name, I think. So that was had to be factored in as well.
Okay, cool. So just some general questions for all of you. Adam, you've got the mic, so keep going if you like.
Fine. I can talk all day.
I know. But you won't. But biggest lessons, what would you say in terms of growing that and also selling? What were your biggest? What was a biggest lesson? And then
well, one of the ones I'll let Sharon, because I think she's going to talk about it, is people. So I won't delve into that, because I'm sure that's one the 3 of us can probably talk about, our team and people for sure. So one of my biggest lessons was I had this vision that to build a boutique gym on the high end of the price range, as you saw. My membership's going up to £200 more, £199 per month. We had members comfortably spending £1,500 per month because they were doing personal training on top of that as well. So we had high net worth individuals. We were in a very affluent area. And I therefore thought I had to spend a fortune on kits and fixtures and fittings. I mean, the changing rooms were that of a 5-star hotel. We spent an absolute fortune. And I created a gym that on reflection, that I wanted to train in, and maybe not all the members wanted to train in. So I had Watson dumbbells. So for those of you who aren't aware, Watson dumbbells are probably the Rolls Royce of dumbbells. I mean, my dumbbells alone cost almost £10,000. And it's like, I look back on that and I'm like, why did I do that? It's ridiculous. So I think that was one of my biggest lessons, was that actually that to attract people, yes, you need to be clean, you have to have a certain look about you if you want to attract a certain type of member, for sure. However, it was that I probably didn't need to spend quite the amount of money I did in fitting it out, and that actually, if you market well, and if you have a great team, and you're good people, then you will do well.
Yeah, cool, which probably goes on to people. In terms of biggest lessons, is that what you say, Sharon?
Yeah,
You might need to grab the mic off, Adam, otherwise.
Yes, I think for me, it was, for the last year, people has been the most biggest lesson in terms of getting the right individuals through the door. Not coming from the fitness industry, I was recruiting people who were sort of more fitness, i.e. PTs, to sell memberships. And actually, it's a real sales job. So I've now got the right mix of people, right mix of team. But definitely a real lesson that I've learned is really understanding what the role is and making sure that those individuals fit. But it isn't just that. It's actually once they're through the door, they may interview really well, but when it comes to do they know your business or want to sell your business just as much as you do, that only happens as and when they're through the door. But it's making sure that they've had the right support, right training from the moment that they start. So that biggest lesson is definitely getting the right people on board in your team.
So right people to start with, but then the right onboarding for those
right onboarding and the right training, and sort of continually investing in them and investing in their training. I mean, a couple of them, for me, they aren't actually PTs, but because I run classes as well, I've invested in their PT courses. So, it works both ways. They know I invest in them, and therefore they invest within the business as well. Yeah.
And Nathan, I know that's been not an up and down ride, but getting people like you was something we chatted about is really important, as you say, Aaron here. And
yeah, I think when you're trying to scale a business, early on, I was very, very impactful on the success of my business. My face was the business as such. Getting to Club 2 and Club 3, that wasn't a problem. But as I try to step back from the business, that's when you need the right people. I say step back, actually not delivering PT or classes or inductions anymore, but actually focusing on trying to operate 3 health clubs. And that's when you really have to then spend as much time as possible getting the right procedures and the right people to inherit your vision and where you want to go as a business and how you want to be seen in the local areas.
Processes are fine, but if you've not got the right people to do them, and it needs people like you. Talk to me as well about just bouncing you into that kind of franchise area. You've probably learnt a bit, maybe not from any time, but from other franchise founder days, haven't you? Yeah.
So when I was working in the health club side of things before I had my own business, I always knew I wanted my own gym or health club, whatever came up. But I had the experience of operations, i.e. how to manage and market and stuff like that, a kind of operational standards. But I lacked the kind of the business side of it, i.e. how much rent, rates, electric, water, all of them sort of costs and the other costs of running a business, really. So I took myself out on a franchise day for, I think it was for the Energy Group, and went and kind of said I've found an ideal location in the town I wanted to open a gym, and they kind of give me a blueprint of their rough estimated figures of what it was going to cost the rent on a 7,000 square foot unit and the average costs they have. So that kind of really gave me the knowledge to then be able to put something together for myself for a better understanding, should I say, rather than going in completely dark. And if you guys have already got clubs, then you'll know kind of the cost of operating, which you can then obviously scale up or scale down depending if you're going for bigger units, bigger rates, et cetera, et cetera.
From the gym owners in the room, have you been to franchise days to almost mystery shop them? It's like a quick show of hands of anyone who's been out to a franchise day to just go, what's it all about? No? Okay. I'm intrigued. Or, I remember asking this question a long time ago about budget gyms. Who's joined a budget gym? Or a low-cost gym, I think it's supposed to be called. Because, just getting the emails and seeing the processes that they do is really interesting. And mystery shopping, but going out to a franchise day, I think, even if you already own a gym, you'll almost certainly learn something from a day out of the business.
I wouldn't always listen to what they had to say, because they wouldn't open a gym in the town, my Dereham town, where I wanted. They didn't have the Fit for Less member or whatever that was they were referring to, and they said they wouldn't open a gym in that location. But that is our biggest club currently of membership, so that was good to actually get that club undergoing and realise not everything they say is true.
Just so you get to prove them wrong as well, which is also satisfying, I think. So what about a show of hands for any questions for these guys? Otherwise, I'll keep going. There's one in the middle here. Good man. If you don't mind, it'd be good to have a name and where you're from,
Cheers, pal. Just
for the recording, so we can come and get you afterwards.
Yeah, I'm Chris. I'm from Hall Personal Training. We've been going 5 years. We've one site, small group PT. That's all we do. That's been going for 5 years, and 2 years ago we set up our second site. They're about 12 miles from each other, which works well. But we're in this conundrum where we want to grow. We want to grow so we can sell it. And I suppose one question I have is, coming to sell, you've proven that you don't need multiple sites to sell. You can just sell with one site. But how did you find the buyer?
Good anticipation. That question's to Adam, I think.
So I kind of had the foresight beforehand. I had a buyer lined up before I even built the gym. And
Smart guy.
They were also partly the investor as well.
Okay.
And so I had that was always there. So I went into that knowing that I had the person to buy it. As long as I could prove proof of concept and put the systems in place to make it a success. And LifeLab is still going. It's survived. I mean, I sold it just before the lockdown, and it survived lockdown. It's still going strong. I like to think that's because of the systems that I put in place there. And yeah, so ultimately it was, I had the foresight to go, right, I don't want to be in this long term. So we had a conversation, and that was always the exit strategy.
Cool. What have you guys got any thoughts on how you would find a buyer, or is that not even on the horizon? You can pass if you want.
I mean, I bought an independent.
Oh, yes.
So, yeah.
Well, okay.
So
well, here's a buyer for you.
I'm coming from the other side. I bought an independent, so I took over actually an independent. And from conversation with Anytime, I think he approached them directly, but it is through events like this that some independents do approach Anytime. I'm sure that's Anytime head office then approached me, but I actually bought an independent. So it's through, I think, events like this that, we're always looking for opportunities as well. So, yeah.
Sorry. So I suppose...
That's right. No one else has got their hand up yet, so go again, Chris.
Okay.
There we are.
So I suppose the next question is that we want to go from, let's say, 2 sites to 5 sites, and then we're in this mindset of, okay, do we, like yourself, Nathan, do we reinvest the profit we're making to set up a 3rd site? Bearing in mind, for us, a 3rd site probably costs about 200,000, 250,000 to set up from start to finish. Or do we go down the franchise route where we become the franchisee or the franchisor, and we try and basically build our brand up faster through people like you franchising off us? Or do we do what Nathan does, and somehow he's raised the capital to open up multiple sites?
So are you looking to then move your current site into a franchise model, or keep that separate?
Possibly. Depends on the speed and the cost of growth, you see. We're trying to look at both sides. Is it good to go to maybe an angel investor, or to get a loan to open up a 3rd site and do it that way, but that would be slow growth and you eat into a lot of debt then? Or do you look at going, hey, I'm going to do a franchise model and try and get people like Sharon to come on board that they're not in the fitness industry, but they want to own a business, and you'll be like, hey, we've got some systems and packages in place. Here's our systems and packages. You'll pay, I don't know, whatever % turnover every year to be part of our franchise model. Does that make sense?
So you set up your own franchise. Yeah, I get it. I think if I was, just from my point of view, I think you'd need more credibility to be able to sell a franchise. I've been approached a couple of times to do it, and for me it just doesn't sit right at the moment. But if I had 10, 11 sites and I had everything nailed, then I'd probably then go, do you know what? Yeah, I've got enough sites for myself, because I truly believe that's all the money is, you know. You might earn good money down franchising, but you are going to be sharing that with somebody. So, yeah, for me, I think if I was going to, in your position, I would reinvest the profits. I would grow it organically, be aggressive on rent negotiations and things like that, and yeah, try and build your own business. That's what I've done, and it's truly been through me investing my profits of my businesses back in. I'm very lucky that they were successful in generating profits, but you know, it's kind of a snowball effect, because now 6 sites all in profit. I can open clubs every 3 months if I wanted to financially. You know, so now that can speed up longer term. So, you know, the quicker you can get more clubs, the more money you're making, the quicker you can open more. So, and we steered away from any financing or any loans. But that's, you know, I was in a very fortunate position with the success for the business.
So coffee afterwards, I think, you two. There's one from the middle.
Hello. My name is Patrick Burge, Lime Licensing Group. We are franchise consultants, but I wasn't going off the back of that. It was a genuine question. Very interested in understanding each of the panellists, the biggest barrier they found so far or throughout their growth journey, because that's an area I'm really interested in. Maybe, you know, people who talk about people, cash, execution, strategy as things that are barriers to growth. So just would love to hear the thoughts.
Yeah, so definitely we scaled quite quickly from 1 to 6 clubs, and along that journey, you know, I love opening clubs. That's kind of my passion, is building and growing a business. But on the flip side, this year we've not opened a club this year, and we've reinvested and refurbished 3 of our sites, along with bringing in more robust procedures, HR companies to be in the mix of that, good health and safety policies, you know, better financial budgeting. You know, as an independent, that's not my forte. I don't enjoy that. But I've brought the right staff in and the senior staff in and built that now. So I do have that expertise within the business. And that probably was, you know, up till this year, we just flew and loved opening clubs and, you know, growing them, but kind of left behind a lot of the, I said left behind, but some of the finer detail, you know, the HR company stuff and who do we go for to get the right support, that's kind of where we've got to now. Before we would be able to get away with it and make our own decisions, but as we start getting bigger, you feel a little bit more open for people trying to come at you for insurance claims or, you know, gross misconduct, you're getting rid of them and they're coming back at you, you know, because they think there's money on the table. So that's how.
So processes and systems and HR kind of stuff. Biggest barrier, Sharon?
I think for me, it's been people for the last 12 months. That's my biggest barrier. And, you know, once I've got to a point where certain number of memberships, hence I've already started looking for site 2. But yes, for me, people has been the biggest barrier. Yeah.
My biggest barrier would be me, for two very different reasons. First reason would be I had this ideological picture of what I wanted to achieve, and that at times prevented me from making sensible business decisions, I think. So I think for those independent owners who, I came into it because I wanted to create this amazing training space for both for PTs, for the members. And so sometimes my ideology prevented me from making the right, sensible choices. And also what I found, and I didn't appreciate this, and Nathan, I think, touched upon it a moment ago, was my reputation actually prevented the growth because people wanted me all the time. They wanted me to run the sessions. They wanted me to do personal training with me. And it's like, well, that's not what I'm here to do. However, I've got an amazing team that can actually help you, and some of them are better than me at what you want to achieve. No, we want the owner. And I found that as a huge challenge, was that my times, the demands on my time from the members was huge. So I found it very hard to then work on the business, and I did spend too much time working in the business initially when I needed to be working on it, for sure.
Yeah, good question. One over here. It's on, I think.
Hello, I am Beth Foster, Retsoft Design, Architectural Design Services, that kind of format. I want to know your tipping point. You're in your cosy comfort zone at the moment, and what is your thought, forecast, your 5-year growth? What does it look like for the next generation? You know, Adam, you were saying your biggest flaw is you. Yes, but how is it going to look, and grassroots of the next generation and mental wellness, and where do you see everything going within your space?
Can I kind of reframe the question to answer it maybe? So if I were, obviously I don't have a gym currently or a business like that currently, so if I were to open another business right now, how would it look? Would that help? Yeah. I think, and I've had this conversation many times during lockdown, since lockdown, and I consult on a few businesses around this. And I do think that the future is going to be this idea of health versus fitness, 100%. I feel very strongly about that. I think we need to start working more collaboratively with other businesses as well as gym owners. I don't think, from my learnings and what I've seen, is I don't think we work with other organisations, other people, other businesses well enough either. So I think we definitely need to embrace the idea of health and mental well-being, let's call it. Yet this idea that actually we don't necessarily have to have this aesthetic ideal, that actually people just might want to move more frequently. People might just want to feel good, and there's nothing wrong with that. So I think embracing this idea of health versus fitness and a more collaborative process of building your business as well, creating an ecosystem is a phrase I use a lot. Hopefully that helps.
Cool. Yeah, good question. So maybe on member numbers, or maybe on site number 2, or what's your tipping point, Sharon?
Member numbers is always a tipping point. So I have a number that I'd like to get to. But going back to, again, reframing the question in terms of what is the future for just even Swaddling Co itself. I think we as a gym, and what I like to do is really sort of focus on health and well-being. I mean, Anytime Fitness, we have something called, the Hand of Wellbeing. But the approach from my perspective, and local businesses, and I've approached local businesses in this way, is the overall well-being of employees, and really sort of, given presentations around the importance of mental health and the physical well-being and how that ties hand in hand. And, we've had a couple of organisations come on board who subsidise gym membership for that reason, so to help improve productivity and also to reduce sickness and stress in the workplace. So I think the mental side of things going forward is going to be a really big, it's going to be a huge space that, within the industry that we should continue to look at, because the physical and mental well-being tie hand in hand so well. And I agree, I think we should be doing more within the community. I really believe in sort of prevention is better than cure. Things, we should... Hopefully, there'll be a point where government and NHS really do come on board with the importance of actually, this is prevention, for so many things in terms of obesity and everything else, and mental well-being. So, to stop the sickness rates that we have and to increase productivity, and also just to be less of a burden on the NHS itself. So that's my tipping point, in the sense that that's where I would want health to go.
Sorry, Nathan, it's coming.
Sorry. Just to build on that, what was interesting, when I opened my facility, we actually had some sub-brands within that. So Life Lab was the brand. Then we had Mind Lab, we had Body Lab. So we had this idea to create that mental well-being space in 2013, 2014, and to reach out to the corporate wellness side of things. However, that was hard because we weren't ready for it back then. So I had this vision that we created this, hence Life, this all-encompassing facility where you could come to to improve your health and well-being in whatever area of your body, as it were, you wanted to. Yet, I think timing's everything as well. So, almost 10 years ago, the idea of mental health wasn't a thing. Oh, it was, but it wasn't as popular or as easily spoken about. Now it certainly is. So yeah, Mind Lab back then didn't really go where would have liked it to have gone. However, we're definitely ready for it now.
Before it's time. So, anything to add, Nathan? Or you can just say, yeah, same.
I think as an NI Health and Fitness Club, we're very proactive in reaching out to local organisations and trying to build relationships, but it's very, very difficult. We found many barriers of why the businesses won't refer them over, or what cost being one of the main factors. So we're looking at ways that we can do. They buy a certain amount of points where they can then so instead of paying for 50 staff but only 10 used it, actually they buy 100 points, and staff who use the points, that'll only be deducted on them, so they can still offer a good well-being package within their company, but they're only paying for the usage of the people who are using it rather than 20 people who don't turn up and never use it. So that's one thing. And the second thing, I think, where it does fall down, and we say the NHS and stuff like that, but the GPs in general, that's where I think the crux is, because I've personally had good conversations with local GPs, and they're going to refer them over for our 12-week transformation plan, and we'll do 4 weeks free, or et cetera, but it falls down there because they don't then refer them over because of the monetary value in private practices on prescription drugs. So you kind of just bang your head against a brick wall in that aspect, and that's where that needs to change. If we can get them to start, instead of giving them high blood pressure tablets, refer them to the gym, but they don't make money. So I think there's a bigger thing to that. You can try, but it's difficult.
But yeah, to Adam's point on collaboration, I think I know a lot of GPs practices are referring people to the leisure centre, but I believe there is a much better route into independence with knowing your members, giving them data, feeding back. I could go on to but yeah, collaborations is definitely. Was that 2 more minutes or 2 more questions, Rob? 2 minutes. Okay, was that 3 minutes ago. Is there one more question? What are you doing over there, John? Looking at the back of my head. Come on,
just
Rob.
quickly on the
Get those
NHS
steps
point and the referral things, there's a company just over the side called Doing Our Bit. They're an NHS business that links in with various sites around the UK. So if you are wanting to link in with an NHS site, go and speak to those guys. A guy called Anthony Franklin at Doing Our Bit. Good
supplier reference. John, a quick one, hopefully.
Yeah, it's for Nate.
So John Greenrod from FDC appeared on this panel last summer.
I did.
Over to you.
It's for Nate, really. I'm just interested because obviously I've got a club, same kind of period of time running. It's been hard work, 6 years. We're now in a place where we can now move on, and I'm at that mindset whether I sit with the one club that's successful, got good numbers, all of that sort of stuff, and enjoy the takings and sit back a little bit, or whether I take that next big step and go for the second, third, fourth clubs. Knowing, I'm my wife would sell tomorrow, but I would have another club tomorrow, personally. So that's the battle we play internally, isn't it, I think. And I'm that's where I am in my mindset. Do I take the next step or do I reap the rewards I've got? What do you think?
Well, I'd say open another club because that's how I love it, for sure. But, that's more personal, isn't it, for you to decide that. But I think the one thing I would say is you could reap the rewards from 2 clubs. Depending on one, if you're very, very hands-on now, then it might be a harder transition. But with 2 clubs, depending how many you want to go for, between 2 and 3 clubs, I was still very hands-on within the club community, maybe dropping in on some classes and stuff like that. But over that, I couldn't do it anymore. So between 2 and 3 clubs, you could probably very much stay very hands-on. Your members would see you regularly, and you probably would have very little kind of impact like that. So I would say pick your second club up, see how you feel, but you could potentially be rewarding yourself with 2 successful clubs, doubling the profits, and having an even nicer sit back and relax time.
So slightly different answer to the one I gave you last night. But okay, fine. Listen, we need to get to a coffee break because otherwise the world will end. So Kaiser's Coffee is out there. I hope this was useful. I'm pretty sure these guys are around all day. I'm certainly around all day and for the early evening. So please do grab us. And like I said at the start, the idea of this panel is to get everyone thinking a bit differently and everyone not necessarily sitting on the same table from the same club, but talk to each other, go and see the suppliers as well, but pick these guys' brains, but pick each other's brains and just find out what failures you can share or what successes you can share, because for me, that's the best thing about this conference is learning. So thank you to the guys for sharing their tips, and I look forward to seeing you around. Thank you, Rob.